A major new season of films begins on Sunday on BBC One. Across the Lake. A boat built for a record. A setting chosen for a record. A man with the courage to attempt a record. Donald Campbell.
In this game, you're champion or you're nothing. There are no silver medals, only the gold, and that's what I'm after.
A man who loved life. Had doubts. Suffered losses.
I'll have to get us finished, Donald.
A man who gave his life for his greatest love, to be the fastest person on water, starring Anthony Hopkins as Donald Campbell. Across the Lake, on Sunday at 9:05 on BBC One.
And now over to Edinburgh and Tom Fleming.
It's a late summer evening in my hometown of Edinburgh, enjoying its 42nd International Festival of Music and the Arts. It's a city dominated by the rock behind me. On that rock sits Edinburgh Castle, where nightly, for the 39th year in succession, above the rooftops of the Grass Market, Princes Street beyond, the Royal Mile down to the east, is performed the most famous military tattoo in the world. And we are happy that wherever you are watching in the world, once again, you can join us.
My martial bugles sound there for a queen who graced my walls 1,000 years ago. Margaret from Hungary, devout, serene. Tonight her Magyars dance for you below. I have seen battles. I have watched princes fight. But that's no way for me to welcome you. You're here for pageant, musical delight. I give you now my Edinburgh tattoo.
The fanfare above Edinburgh, composed by Major David Price, Scots Guards, the Tattoo's Director of Music.
The pipes and drums.
To the tune Highland Rory, the massed pipes and drums of 7 bands open the Edinburgh Military Tattoo of 1988. The pipes and drums of the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, the 1st Battalion, the Royal Scots, the Royal Regiment, the 1st Battalion, the Royal Highland Fusiliers, Princess Margaret's own Glasgow and Ayrshire Regiment, the drums and pipes of the 1st Battalion, the Gordon Highlanders, the pipes and drums of the 1st Battalion, the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, Princess Louise's, the Seaforth Highlanders of Canada Association, and the Tobruk Memorial Pipes and Drums from Melbourne, Australia. The Senior Pipe Major, To the right of the front rank is Pipe Major John Bruce, Royal Scots Dragoon Guards. And the 6/8 march is Mrs. MacDonald of Uig, composed by the late Pipe Major Donald MacLeod, MBE, affectionately known throughout the piping world as Wee Donald. The senior drum major, Drum Major Bert Tompkins, the Gordon Highlanders, gives the command, and the pipes and drums move off in 2/4 time to the tune The Inverness Gathering, commemorating the northern meeting held annually in Inverness. And when they've reached the center of the arena, the pipers will form a hollow square with the 36 drummers and 8 drum majors in the middle. You will hear 5 tunes in the static set: a slow air, the Strathspey Dalnahassig, the jig, Paddy O'Rafferty, the reel, the Maid Behind the Bar, and the retreat march, The Bloody Fields of Flanders. But first, the slow air, Loch Boisdale, composed by Pipe Major John Wilson after a visit to South Uist, with harmonies by Major John Allen. Display by the Mass Pipes and Drums is under the personal supervision of Major John Allen, Director, Army Bagpipe Music, and Pipe Major Gavin Stoddart, Chief Instructor at the Army School of Piping. The bands now reform to the tune, the Midlothian Pipe Band. the youth, ending a fine display of army piping and drumming at its very best. Now a really heartening display of skill and courage on motorbikes performed by youngsters from London's Docklands and the areas round about. It's the first visit to Edinburgh by the Honda Imps. The two youngest members of the team are only 5 years old, and the other mascot is 7. And the voice you'll hear is that of the Imps' own commentator who travels with them, Bill Everett.
So now it's the turn of the older members of the team, but still the average age is only 13 years. And now to give you a 16-man formation ride, and they must remember in the order of 110 different maneuvers.
For every hour spent riding, these East End kids spend 6 or more on maintaining and cleaning the bikes. And if they get into trouble with the police or play truant from school, they lose their place in the team. Some of them spend 11 years with the Imps. They're retired at 16. Dedicated to helping youngsters from London's East End to achieve their true potential, the organisation, which is based in a disused warehouse at the Royal Victoria Dock, encourages youngsters to share in team adventures, and some of which have taken them as far afield as the Sahara Desert. And the team is, incidentally, also open to girls.
Well, I think you'd agree, ladies and gentlemen, that that was the ultimate test of teamwork. Well, I did say they'd be back, and here they are, the 5-year-old mascots, to display the skills of balance. Now, these are tricks and not stunts. They have a purpose to them, for it demonstrates to their leaders and trainers that these young lads have mastered throttle control and balance. And as they pass back over the drawbridge, cast your eyes if you would to the pit area for the preparation for what is surely the most traditional of all the items expected of any self-respecting motorcycle display team. Ladies and gentlemen, the pyramid. Up to 21 boys mounted on 5 Honda machines. Just notice when they take the bend, the link men between each motorcycle, if the machines part company, their ballet lessons begin as they do the splits or even something far worse. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen the young mascots demonstrating their skills. We'd just like to give you one example from their repertoire of the type of tricks the older lads get up to, and this is 13-year-old Russell Capper demonstrating what I believe the boys call the spinner. Oh, I've just discovered, ladies and gentlemen, that in the audience we have a member of the world-famous record book, and one of our young imps would like to get his name into that book. Would you mind awfully if we broke away from the program just for a few moments to let young Daniel Sparks get his name in the record book? Would you mind that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, I hear your sanction, but I'm afraid we'll need your help even further, because Daniel needs to jump at least 20 of his colleagues to get his name into the book. So if you want him to go for the record, would you just give a big yes? Well, here they come then, a few more. But he still needs more if it's going to be the record, so we need another great big yes if it's going to be for the record. That wasn't a very good yes, ladies and gentlemen. It's only brought one boy out. So if we're going for the record, we need the other two lads. So one great big yes, and we're going for the record. 1, 2, and away you go. That's super. So we're now going for the record. In that case, may I just give a little advice, if I may, sir, to the scrutineer down there. You must give us confirmation of the numbers. Count the number of helmets, sir, multiply by 2. That'll give you the number. The number of helmets, duty officer. Well, now you see how he gets results from these young men. Right, now quiet everywhere, please, while young Daniel Sparks goes for this record. Quiet everywhere. Well, you didn't really think he was going to do it, did you? Well, obviously that was just a bit of fun, but it's the type of tricks the lads get up to in their winter training during the cold months. And just a little jump like that gives them the experience so that eventually young Daniel will hopefully replace our team captain who has to retire this year, and perhaps next season he'll be jumping over the Honda Shuttle motor car, the team's car, and his teammates who sit aboard this Escargo motor car, terrain vehicle, or whatever it's called, and the ramp that is now being put into place will be handheld by 6 of the team captain's teammates. Now, children watching, please note that the duty officer checks every single item that these lads perform. Nothing at all is taken to chance. And he seems to be satisfied now, so any moment now, the team captain will come. Here he comes. Well, now the team mascots will lead their colleagues back into the arena to bid you farewell and to thank you for being a fantastic audience responding to their every move. Well, now, as the Docklands Honda Imps is in fact a youth organization, not just a display team, it's only right and proper that one of the junior members, in fact the senior mascot, if you please, young Matthew Summers, will take charge of this parade and give the salute. And Sergeant Major down there, watch out for your job.
And Matthew Summers is only 7.5. Well, bravo to the young devils. The audience is thrilled with the team spirit and the discipline of these EastEnders. Have certainly taken the imps to their hearts at every performance.
Wasn't that a brave display, ladies and gentlemen?
From Melbourne in the Australian state of Victoria come the Tobruk Memorial Pipes and Drums with the Colonial Dancers, recalling in Australia's 200th birthday year some of the folk dances handed down by the settlers of last century. This is a Circassian circle, and the tune is Click Go the Shears. Now the dance is Melbourne Town, known last century as the dancing capital of Australia. And the tune is The Road to Gundagai. Many of the young dancers are also folk musicians who play instruments from the fiddle and the penny whistle to the push bass and the didgeridoo. But this is a new experience for them, dancing to the pipes. The Cloverleaf Waltz is Botany Bay. The colonial dancers were formed in 1974 to collect and record traditional Australian social dances and to demonstrate and teach their formations and steps. It's something they do not for professional reward, but for the enjoyment and the friendship which they find in this sort of dancing. And the heel and toe polka is danced to Bound for South Australia. And I hope these dancers will cheer you down under as you watch this tattoo on New Year's Day in the height of your warm summer. And Drum Major Mike Sum now will give the word of command to the pipes and drums.
The band are now coming out of their T formation, T for Tobruk. A birthday is a time for remembering as well as celebrating. We in Britain don't forget that twice this century Australia has joined the old country in its hour of need. The cost to Australia in her young men and women was high, and we are conscious of these sacrifices. In particular, we remember tonight the Siege of Tobruk as a symbol of Australian-British comradeship in adversity. In 1941, in Tobruk in North Africa, 15,000 Australians with a Polish brigade, Indian and British units, including the Black Watch, held off Rommel's Africa Corps for 242 days. They were insulted by being called by Lord Haw-Haw Rats of Tobruk, a title they still wear with great pride. At the top of the esplanade, you can see a banner party with a banner with the unit insignia of each Australian unit at Tobruk. Each piper carries a pipe banner with an Australian unit insignia and the Polish brigade. You can also see the Australian flag and the Polish eagle. The banner party is made up of surviving Rats of Tobruk.
The Tobruk Memorial Pipes and Drums, a living memorial to the young Aussies who fought and died in North Africa almost half a century ago. Ramillies, the drum horse of the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, presented to the regiment last year by Her Majesty the Queen. The drum horse is traditionally the only mount in this regiment which isn't grey. The Royal Scots Dragoon Guards were formed in 1971 from an amalgamation of two regiments with old and cherished traditions. The 3rd Carbineers and the Royal Scots Greys. They are Scotland's only remaining cavalry regiment. Their pipes and drums and their regimental band are famed throughout the world. They played last year for Pope John Paul at the Vatican and for President Reagan at the White House. The tune is the 79th's Farewell to Gibraltar. The mounted kettle drummer, Corporal Andy Field, wears a white bearskin unique in the British Army. First worn just over a century ago and brought into use again 51 years ago at the coronation of the Queen's father and mother, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth. Pipe Major John Bruce was the soloist, and Bandmaster Thompson was conducting, yes, of course, Amazing Grace, the arrangement which was such a hit for the regiment's bands in 1971. Drum Major David Gilfillan gives the command, and the bands leave the esplanade to the Bonnie Lass of Fyvie. Royal Scots Dragoon Guards are an armoured regiment. The pipes and drums you just heard are played by trained tank crewmen. Here are two Scorpion armoured cars. tackling a couple of problems on the castle ramparts in a more economic and sophisticated way than some of the lengthy assaults this old fortress has experienced. In November, the regiment joins the British Army of the Rhine as part of the NATO defences in Western Europe. And these Scorpions will be replaced by 60 of the new Challenger tanks. Sousa's Semper Fidelis, played by the massed military bands, brings to the esplanade the regimental bands of the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, the Scots Guards, the Royal Highland Fusiliers, and the Gordon Highlanders, the Light Infantry Salamanca Band, the Normandy Band of the Royal Green Jackets, and the bugles of the 2nd Battalion, the Light Infantry. A 150 years ago, Georges Bizet was born in Paris from Carmen, an arrangement by the Tattoo's Director of Music, Major David Price, Scots Guards. Now, Lieutenant Colonel Duncan Beatt's arrangement of Marching with Harry Lauder. Sir Harry died aged 79 in the year of the first Edinburgh Tattoo, 1950. Some of the tunes he made famous are Tobermory, I Love a Lassie, Saftest of the Family, and Keep Right On to the End of the Road. Drum Major Raymond Kerr, Scots Guards, gives the command, and the mass bands, except the musicians of the Light Division, will leave the Esplanade to a new Dutch arrangement of Auf Wiedersehen.